People also find it difficult to refuse Lurch. He's really skilled with them. Carolyn Jones, who gained fame in Hollywood as Morticia Addams, had a sinister secret that was only revealed by surgery. Few people were aware that she was silently battling a dreadful nightmare at the height of her illustrious career. However, everything fell wrong on a fateful trip. She had to immediately go to emergency surgery after throwing up blood. It was terrible what the doctors discovered within her body. Discover the truth she kept hidden for nearly 40 years by watching this film. Thank you to everyone for making us happy over the year. However, Carolyn's early years weren't entirely magical and glittering. Her parents were constantly concerned, particularly during the Great Depression, when financial difficulties caused her dad a great deal of stress. In 1934, unable to cope with the strain, he abandoned his family. Carolyn's young spirit was so deeply wounded by that it never recovered. Her mother already had agoraphobia, and now she had to deal with poverty while raising her daughter, which made things considerably worse. They had nowhere else to go, so they were forced to live with Carolyn's grandparents. She had to cope with her irate grandfather's frequent outbursts, which made her continually terrified, and the already overcrowded house became even worse. Additionally, Carolyn struggled to get out of bed for weeks at a time due to her asthma. She spent a lot of time feeling trapped in her own frail body. She used Hollywood publications, music, and literature as a means of escape. She caught a glimpse of a different world, one that was full of glitz, brightness, and limitless possibilities, through the glossy pages with brilliant stars. She was a gorgeous movie actress in that dream rather than a sick and frail girl. From that silent desire, she started to cultivate the idea of becoming a true movie star. Carolyn realized that the Pasadena Playhouse, a well-known acting school in California, was her sole means of escaping reality. She became a student there in 1947, when she was only 17 years old. Since she was determined to fulfill her ambition, the Playhouse taught her more than just acting techniques. She also experienced her first love. In August 1949, she and Don Donaldson first met. The 27-year-old male and the 19-year-old woman's connection rapidly developed. They were dating for only a year before they got married in 1950. Many people felt it was a wonderful love story, but in Hollywood, there were accusations that it wasn't real. Carolyn was left with a scar on her heart after their one-year marriage ended in divorce. However, she refused to cry. After 3 years of diligent work, Carolyn earned an honors diploma from Pasadena Playhouse. At this point, she was prepared to begin living the life she had always imagined. However, living in Hollywood wasn't pleasant. She soon discovered that skill was insufficient. She frequently received roles based on her appearance and the rigid beauty standards of the film industry, rather than her acting prowess, because the industry is so preoccupied with appearances. She made the decision to undergo a complete makeover for the benefit of her career. She underwent plastic surgery, had her hair dyed blonde, underwent Texas accent reduction training, altered her gait and posture, and purchased fashionable clothing. Everything changed because of this new idea. Soon after, Carolyn was acting at the Players Ring Theater when she was seen by a talent agent. After a successful tryout, she signed a 6-month contract with Paramount Studios. Although it was expensive, Carolyn was now totally committed to the film industry. Despite her strong desire to perform, she was unable to overcome the rage she felt at realizing that her new appearance, rather than her talent, was what had ultimately made the difference. Music. It appeared that Carolyn Jones could finally succeed in the film industry after landing her contract with Paramount. In 1952, she starred in her first motion picture, The Turning Point. It was almost as though the title foretold how her life would turn out. Her family was overjoyed. Her mother shed happy tears as they danced in their tiny living room. But the glory didn't last long. After her first film, Carolyn only received 2 minor, unimpressive roles before Paramount terminated her contract. After what appeared to be a thrilling beginning, there was a depressing silence, and Hollywood nearly forgot about her. Financial difficulties were quite painful. The low salary at Paramount was insufficient to afford the high expense of living in Los Angeles. Things grew so bad that her younger sister Betty had to move in with her to help pay the rent. In order to earn money, Carolyn took on any position she could find, from prominent roles on stage to little appearances in films. The lights were back on as she returned to the Preston Sturgis Players Theater. She found employment here and began a new chapter in her life. It was then that Carolyn met Aaron Spelling. As a rookie screenwriter, he is still adjusting to the industry. They were connected in an odd but clear way. You could tell they were both propelled by a desire to make it big in the entertainment sector. Their same sense of humor was the main factor that united them. It was more than love for Carolyn. It was the meeting of two souls who shared a lot in common. Carolyn was more fortunate in 1953. She starred in one of the first 3D films ever produced, House of Wax. Even though she only had a little part, the movie became an international hit. Critics started to pay attention to Carolyn for the first time and offer her excellent evaluations. Her name began to make an impression in the cutthroat world of Hollywood. Since her star was growing in the sky, everyone believed she was going to become a true star. Although she was doing well at work, her romantic life became increasingly complex. Carolyn waited for Aaron to propose to her because she was certain he was the one for her. Aaron hesitated despite his intense love for her. He believed that until he had a steady career and enough money to ensure his family's safety, he couldn't get married. Conversely, Carolyn felt nervous. She disliked waiting and being delayed. Thus, she courageously took action on her own. Aaron received an engagement proposal from Carolyn. In April 1953, they were officially married. However, Carolyn was never the ideal housewife of the 1950s. In the beginning, she made it plain that her job came first. It was unjust to her to have children merely because it is a woman's job. She was open about her desire to pursue her artistic ambitions, without letting motherhood interfere. It was a courageous, perhaps daring decision to defy the prevailing conventions of the day. Carolyn, however, persisted. Fortune returned to her door in the midst of this. A Columbia Pictures casting director noticed her and felt she would be perfect for a large new film called From Here to Eternity. If the test went well, he assured her, the part would be hers. For Carolyn, this was not simply another opportunity. It served as her golden ticket to stardom in Hollywood. But once more, terrible fate rejected her. The night before the crucial interview, Carolyn developed a horrible fever from pneumonia. She was taken to the hospital immediately after her fever reached 104 degrees, and she is currently in critical condition. She believed she would become famous if she received her dream role, but Donna Reed did. Oddly enough, Reed took home the Oscar for that role. Carolyn felt like her future was being snatched away right in front of her eyes. She kept thinking about how healthy she was that day. After being disappointed, Carolyn had a terrible dilemma and asked herself, how different would my life be now? She believed that she would never again have the opportunity to shine. Her subsequent employment was completely unimportant. Her name was obscured by the minor roles or supporting parts. Then a streak of good fortune appeared in the most unlikely location. Carolyn showed courage during the bachelor party. She drastically altered her appearance by cutting off her long hair and dyeing it dark. She only appeared on the show for 8 minutes. Still, every second was electric. Critics were quite complimentary to her. Many reporters hurried to speak with her. And something happened that nobody had anticipated. Carolyn was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. It was bitter, but it was also a great joy. On the night of the Oscars, Carolyn waited anxiously to hear her name called. Instead, Moshi Umechi prevailed. Under the bright lights, Carolyn walked out of the auditorium with the distinction of recognition, but without an award. That night, however, strengthened her resolve. Until she demonstrated that she was an exceptional artist, she would not give up. Carolyn's next chance came in 1958, when she was cast with Elvis Presley in King Creole, the king of rock and roll's last movie before he joined the army. It was amusing because Carolyn was experiencing a 102-degree fever at the time. She was worried that she could make Elvis sick, so she wanted to forego the kissing sequence. Maybe this will keep me out of battle. Elvis grinned and added, "That's okay." The entire crew laughed aloud at his half-serious statement. Fortunately, the film was a big hit, which was another significant milestone in Carolyn's difficult journey. Despite her growing fame, Carolyn continued to be cast in odd supporting roles, and when she was given the career script, she insisted on playing the love lead. Shirley MacLaine was cast as the eccentric sidekick. Life doesn't always go as planned. But it was important for Carolyn to demonstrate that she could be a real starring lady, and not just a supporting character. While the majority of people didn't enjoy the film, many reviewers said that Carolyn gave her best and most nuanced performance to date. For her, it was a creative success, but it didn't do well at the box office, which is a common problem in Hollywood. Carolyn began to become increasingly interested in the glamorous behind-the-scenes life of the Hollywood elite. She and Aaron Spelling, a well-known screenwriter at the time, built a posh house with 13 rooms, and she filled her closets with jewelry and furs. It became evident that there was a mismatch as Erin's career took off in a way that no one could have predicted, becoming one of the most gifted writers in television. Carolyn was the center of attention at first, but as time went on, she lost importance in the eyes of her husband. And worse, Erin began acting strangely, such as going out at night for unclear reasons. Eventually, they lost trust in one another, and by August 1964, their more than 10-year marriage was over, and Carolyn, who was only 34, appeared to be watching her entire life fall apart. She was about to play the most important part of her job, but she didn't know it yet. Carolyn had previously rejected numerous TV offers because she was determined to become a movie star, but she changed her mind when she was offered an irresistible daytime TV part. The character was funny, dark, and strange, and it seemed like it was made just for her. She didn't have to second-guess her decision, and it ended up being the most significant thing in her life. In 1964, Carolyn joined the Addams Family, where she played Morticia Addams, which would become her most famous role. Despite the controversy, the show caused a stir. The first episode of The Addams Family, which aired on September 18, 1964, shocked a lot of people because it showed how hot the relationship between Carolyn's character Morticia and her husband Gomez was. Conservative viewers were shocked by how openly they showed their love for each other, but the talk about their on-screen relationship was nothing compared to how badly Carolyn felt in real life. The famous Morticia dress looked great on camera, but it was really painful to wear. It was so tight that Carolyn could hardly walk, and it could take up to 20 minutes to take off after shooting. Late in the process, Velcro was added to the back to make it easier to take off and allow her to move between acts. The Addams Family quickly became a big deal in pop culture. When she was 35, Carolyn became an A-list star with millions of devoted fans, and she loved every moment of it because it was her dream come true. However, the dream was not realized, and ABC ended The Addams Family after just 2 seasons, despite the show's popularity. Carolyn was devastated, and she only had a few guest appearances on TV shows over the course of the following year. But she didn't get many new opportunities. Carolyn believed that she was so attached to Morticia that people wouldn't accept her in any other role. Because she had no other options, Carolyn returned to the stage and got a part in The Homecoming on Broadway, but she hated every minute of it and felt dirty and angry. Her voice teacher and friend Herbert Green helped her feel better, and their friendship eventually blossomed into love. And in December 1968, they were married. But many of Carolyn's friends didn't like the marriage because they thought Green was weird, rude, and even disgusting. He persuaded Carolyn to give up acting permanently and move to Palm Springs with him. And after 7 years of living alone in Palm Springs, Carolyn Jones finally decided she couldn't live without the stage lights. Many people believed her career was over when she was 46, but she made the brave decision to start over, ending her oppressive marriage to Herbert Green and returning to Los Angeles, where her dreams had previously come true. People didn't think they would still remember Carolyn, but thankfully their love for her hadn't faded. She began acting in plays and guest appearances on television shows once more, and gradually she discovered the pride that comes from being an artist and putting her all into her work. During rehearsals, Carolyn met her new love, Peter Bailey Britton, a very passionate and energetic coworker. Their relationship blossomed, giving Carolyn hope that she would finally be happy again after all the bad things that had happened. But she didn't have much time. On a flight from Dallas to Los Angeles, Carolyn became very ill and began throwing up blood in the bathroom. She was taken to the hospital immediately after leaving the plane, where doctors had to remove most of her stomach to save her life. The test results were terrible. The colon cancer was very advanced. "Until my last breath, I still want to be an actress," Carolyn said once. But soon there was less hope when doctors told her the cancer had returned. At 51, Carolyn didn't want the public to feel sorry for her, so she chose to keep quiet while undergoing surgeries and rounds of exhausting treatment because she didn't want to be a victim. When her health briefly improved, she returned to television in a big way in the soap opera capital. Despite her body's weakness, Carolyn continued to act in Capitol, sitting in a wheelchair to complete her roles, wearing a lace cap and bow to cover the hair she lost due to chemotherapy. But she still exuded the proud air of a true star. They were married in a simple but very emotional ceremony in September 1982, and she wanted to look beautiful on her special day. Despite her body's pain, Carolyn looked like a beautiful bride, and he was proud and in love with a woman who had once captivated millions. Less than a year later, in July 1983, she awoke at her West Hollywood home, and on August 3, 1983, at the age of 53, she passed away. Carolyn had recorded her final wishes, which included donating Morticia's costume and wig to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences in honor of her well-known role. Her ex-husband, Peter, also donated the original Addams Family scripts to UCLA. People will never forget Carolyn Jones and Morticia Addams as symbols of steadfast strength in the face of adversity, skill and enigmatic beauty,